Hi, everyone. Before I dive into this, please like this video and listen to my story till the end. And let me know in the comments which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. My name is Emma Lane, and I was 34 years old the Christmas my parents decided my son didn't count as family. It wasn't the kind of moment you'd expect. No shouting, no dramatic phone calls, no big scene. It crept in quietly, like a shadow slipping under the door, and settled in my chest, heavy and suffocating. That Christmas morning, I was in the hospital. 3 days into what was supposed to be a short stay after a severe allergic reaction knocked me off my feet. My body had betrayed me, swelling, dizziness, hives crawling up my arms. The doctors said it wasn't life-threatening, but serious enough to keep me there until every test came back clean. I hated it. Not because of the needles or the sterile smell, but because it meant I wasn't home with my son, Noah. Noah was 10. That magical age where Christmas still feels like something out of a storybook. He understood that things don't always go as planned, but he still believed in the magic of the season. I'd done everything I could to make sure he'd have a good day, even if I couldn't be there. The nanny was reliable. The schedule was taped to the fridge, pancakes in the morning, a movie marathon, video games in the afternoon. But what Noah was most excited about wasn't the day itself. It was the gifts. He'd been saving his allowance for weeks, carefully counting and recounting the crumpled bills to buy presents for everyone at my parents' house. A candle for my mom, socks for my dad, toys for my brother's kids. He wrapped them himself, the red paper crinkling under his small hands, his handwriting wobbly but determined on every tag. When the nanny called me that morning, I thought it was just a routine update. Her voice was slower than usual, careful, like she was trying to find the right words. "Emma," she said, "something happened." Noah had gotten dressed on his own, pulling on the green Christmas sweater he only wore once a year. He packed the gift bag he'd prepared and asked if she could drive him to my parents' house. I'd already told her it was fine. They lived just a few blocks away. He'd been there 100 times. She waited in the car while he ran up to the porch. "I think something went wrong," she said.
My heart sank.
What happened next changed everything I thought I knew about family. Stay with me. This is where it all begins to unravel. Noah had been so excited. I could picture him standing there on my parents' porch, his green sweater slightly too big on his small frame, the gift bag clutched tightly in his hands. He must have been smiling. He always smiled. He would have said, "Merry Christmas," his voice bright and full of hope. But then, my nanny's voice broke through my thoughts, trembling as she continued. "Your mom opened the door, Emma. She looked at him, and she said, 'This year is just for family.' Then she shut the door. I couldn't breathe. I asked her to repeat it, convinced I must have misunderstood. Surely my mother couldn't do something like that. But no, the words were the same. The door had closed. Noah stood there for a moment, the cold biting at his cheeks, the weight of her words sinking in. He didn't cry. He didn't ask why. He just turned around, clutching the bag of gifts tighter to his chest, and walked back to the car. When he arrived at the hospital, his cheeks were pink from the cold, his eyes dry but distant. He handed me the bag and said, "Grandma didn't want company." That was it. No anger, no tears, just quiet confusion, like he was trying to piece together a puzzle that didn't make sense. I sat there, staring at the bag of untouched gifts, the crooked handwriting on the tags. My heart broke in a way I didn't know was possible. Noah played a game on my tablet, his small fingers tapping the screen like nothing had happened. But I could feel it. Something had shifted. I didn't call my parents. I didn't text. I didn't cry. I just sat there, still and silent, as the weight of it all settled over me. 3 hours later, I picked up my phone and sent one message. "I won't be covering Mark's rent anymore." No explanation, no warning, just one sentence. The first call came 3 minutes later. Then another. And another. I didn't answer. Have you ever had a moment where everything you thought you knew about someone shattered in an instant? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. But this was just the beginning. What came next revealed the truth about my family in ways I never expected. Stay with me, it only gets more intense from here. The calls kept coming, one after another, but I didn't answer. I couldn't. My parents had begged me just a month earlier to help my brother, Mark. He was 2 months behind on rent, they said. If I didn't step in, he and his family would be evicted right before Christmas. They didn't ask, they pleaded. I didn't want to do it. I'd already spent more on Mark's problems in the past year than I had on myself. But they wore me down like they always did. I paid the back rent, set up automatic payments, and told myself it was temporary. And now my son, my sweet, thoughtful Noah, had stood on their porch with a bag of gifts, only to be told he wasn't family. I pressed the nurse call button. When she came in, I told her I wanted to be discharged early. She hesitated, her face full of concern. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Yes," I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised even me. I signed the forms, got dressed, and walked out of the hospital with Noah by my side. The nanny was waiting in the hallway, her face nervous, like she was bracing for something. Noah looked up at me, his eyes full of questions he didn't know how to ask. I thanked the nanny, paid her for the day, and told her she could go home. Then I took the car keys and walked out with my son. We weren't going home. Not yet. The drive was quiet. Noah held the gift bag between his feet, his small hands gripping it like it might fall apart if he let go. He stared out the window, his reflection flickering in the glass. I could feel his confusion, his hurt, even though he didn't say a word. When I pulled up across the street from my parents' house, I saw every car in the driveway. My brother's SUV, my dad's truck, my sister-in-law's parents' car. Another vehicle I didn't recognize. So much for just family. I parked across the street and turned off the engine. My parents' house looked exactly the way it always did on holidays, overdone to the point of absurdity. Plastic candy canes lined the walkway. An inflatable Santa leaned against a snowman, both looking like they'd given up halfway through December. One of the glowing reindeer had a deflated antler, drooping sadly toward the lawn. From the outside, it looked warm and inviting, like the kind of house people drove past and thought they must have such a close family. But I knew better. I turned to Noah and said, "We're only going in for a minute." He didn't ask why. He didn't argue. He just nodded and got out of the car, lifting the gift bag carefully, like it was something fragile. I knocked once. My mother opened the door, her face lighting up with a smile, until she saw us. The smile vanished, replaced by something colder. Her eyes flicked to Noah, then back to me. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice sharp. "We need to talk," I said. She didn't invite us in. She didn't open the door any wider. But I stepped past her anyway. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the weight of unspoken tension? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your stories. What happened inside that house changed everything. The truth came out, and it was uglier than I ever imagined. Stay with me. This is where it all unravels. The living room was chaos. Torn wrapping paper littered the floor, half-eaten cookies sat on plates, and empty cups were scattered across every surface. I could hear my brother's kids laughing and shouting somewhere down the hallway, their voices bouncing off the walls. My dad walked in from the kitchen, holding a drink. His expression shifted the moment he saw me, from surprise to irritation in the blink of an eye. "What's going on?" he asked, his tone already defensive. I didn't sit. I didn't take off my coat. I stood there, my voice steady but cold. "Why did you tell my son to go home this morning?" My mother's face tightened, her lips pressing into a thin line. For a moment, I thought I saw something like discomfort flicker across her face, but it was gone as quickly as it came. She crossed her arms and said, "We didn't know he was coming. We were keeping things small this year. Just family." "Small?" I repeated, glancing toward the hallway where the sound of laughter echoed. "Are Mark's in-laws family?" She looked away, her jaw tightening. My dad sighed, the kind of sigh that said he was already tired of the conversation. "Emma, he shouldn't have just shown up." It put us in an awkward position. "He's 10, I said, my voice rising. "He showed up with a bag of gifts." My mother's tone sharpened. "The nanny should have asked first." "She did," I said, my words cutting through the air like a blade. I told her it was fine. My mother's arms tightened across her chest. We didn't want to hurt his feelings, but things have been stressful lately. We weren't expecting company. It wasn't personal. I felt something cold settle deep in my chest. What part of slamming a door in a child's face isn't personal? She opened her mouth, then closed it, waving a hand dismissively, like she was brushing the question away. "You're exaggerating," she said, her voice clipped. "You always do this. You twist things and turn yourself into the victim." My dad stepped in, his voice calm but firm, the way he always tried to mediate. "Emma, stop. You're punishing the wrong people." I turned and saw Noah standing by the door, his small frame hunched slightly, the gift bag still clutched in his hands. He looked so small, so fragile, like he was trying to take up as little space as possible. That was it. I didn't argue anymore. I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at my parents, my brother, the house that had once felt like home, and said, "We're done." I walked over to Noah and knelt in front of him, my voice soft and steady. "Hey," I said gently, "you ready to go?" He nodded, his eyes wide and trusting, and together, we walked out the door. Have you ever had to walk away from people you thought would always be there for you? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear how you found your strength. But this wasn't the end. What came next was the hardest part of all, letting go and choosing what truly mattered. Stay with me, because this is where everything changes. The car ride home was quiet. Noah sat in the passenger seat, the gift bag resting on his lap. He stared out the window, his reflection flickering in the glass, but he didn't say a word. I could feel the weight of his thoughts, the questions he didn't know how to ask. I broke the silence first. "Do you still want to deliver the presents?" I asked softly. He shook his head, his voice barely above a whisper. "I just want to go home." I swallowed the lump in my throat and nodded. "Okay." After a long pause, he turned to me, his small voice trembling. "Are they still our family?" The question hit me like a punch to the chest. I took a deep breath, steadying myself before I answered. "We're still a family," I said, my voice firm but gentle. "Just us. And that's enough." When we got home, we made pancakes for dinner, chocolate chip ones shaped like snowmen. Noah laughed as the batter sizzled on the griddle, his smile slowly returning. We watched a movie we'd seen 100 times, curled up on the couch under a blanket. He leaned against me, quiet but content, and for the first time in days, I felt a sense of peace. Later that night, after Noah had fallen asleep, I finally checked my phone. The messages were waiting for me, just as I'd expected. At first, they were frantic. "What do you mean you're not covering his rent anymore? This isn't the time for games. It's Christmas." Then came the guilt.
He's your brother.
"He has kids. Think about everything we've done for you." And finally, the anger. "You're making this all about you. This is cruel." Noah shouldn't have shown up unannounced. I put my phone face down and turned off the light. Walking away had already said everything I needed to say. The next morning, my dad left a voicemail. His tone was calm, controlled, the way he always sounded when he wanted to seem reasonable. He said they were disappointed in how I was handling things, that I was overreacting, that I was using Noah as a weapon. And then, right at the end, he said the line they always came back to, "We helped you when you needed it." Don't forget that. I sat at the kitchen table after Noah left for school, staring at my laptop. I opened my bank statements and went through every dollar I'd sent to Mark, every bill I'd covered, every bailout I'd convinced myself was temporary. The total made my stomach drop, over $18,000 in 2 years. I transferred exactly $3,000 to my parents, the amount they'd once helped me with. In the memo line, I typed, "for the transmission." Then I hit send. No explanation. No follow-up. 3 days later, my mom messaged me. "We received the money. That wasn't necessary, but thank you." No apology. No mention of Noah. Just a cold confirmation, like I'd closed out a transaction. 5 minutes later came the real message. "So, are you planning to resume Mark's rent next month? Or is this still about what happened on Christmas?" Still about Christmas. Like it was a misunderstanding, something minor, something I should have already let go. I didn't respond. Later that night, my dad tried instead. He warned me that if Mark's family got evicted, it would be on me. As if I was responsible for a grown man who refused to keep a steady job and treated my bank account like a safety net. Then Mark's wife messaged me. We weren't close, but she was honest. She said she didn't agree with what they'd done to Noah. And then she told me something that made everything click. Mark hadn't been behind 1 month. He'd been behind 3. The money I'd sent had only covered November and December. They'd hidden October, counting on me to rush in like I always did. That was when I understood the truth I'd been circling for years. Noah was never really part of this family. He was tolerated, never cherished, never protected. Mark messaged me next, accusing me of turning everyone against him. He reminded me again that family helps. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the entire message thread to his wife and typed one line. I'm sorry you're in this, but I'm out for good. She reacted with a thumbs up. That was enough. A week later, my mom left a long voicemail. I didn't listen to it right away. I let it sit there while I folded laundry, helped Noah with his homework, and cooked dinner. When I finally pressed play, it was exactly what I expected. She said I needed to calm down, that mistakes had been made, that things had gotten out of hand. And then she said the line she always used when she wanted to reset the board without taking responsibility. We've done a lot for you. There it was. The unspoken contract I'd never agreed to. The next morning, I canceled Mark's automatic rent payment. Then, I went further. I removed my parents from every account they were using, streaming services, grocery apps, everything. One by one, I clicked remove access. It wasn't petty. It was necessary. I sent one final message. I will not be providing any more financial support. I've paid back what I owed. Do not contact me for money again. If Noah isn't welcome in your home, neither am I. Then I turned off my phone. 3 days later, Mark left a voicemail. He said I was ruining their lives, that I was selfish, that I was turning my back on family. He reminded me again how our parents had once helped me. I turned my phone back on long enough to send one text. I paid them back every dollar. We're done. Then I blocked him. I blocked all of them. The silence that followed felt strange at first, like waiting for a storm that never came. But nothing bad happened. No emergencies, no disasters, just quiet. That night, Noah and I made frozen waffles for dinner and redecorated our tiny Christmas tree just for fun. He carefully rearranged the ornaments, stepping back every few minutes to see if it looked right. Do you think we'll still see Grandma and Grandpa? He asked. Maybe not, I said honestly. He thought about it for a moment, then shrugged. I like it better here anyway.
So did I.
Tell me in the comments, have you ever had to make a choice like this? And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life.